It's his time to say something. Okay, we've got 7:30. Well, bring the top one up. Leave another one down there. I think it's full anyway. Calling to order the regular agenda meeting, or the regular borough meeting of Morrisville Borough on March 21st, 2016. We'll start with a moment of silent prayer, followed by the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Dave Ravella.
Here.
Dave Ravella.
Dave Ravella.
Here.
Vic Cicero.
Here.
Fred Kerner.
Here.
Corinne Chronicle.
Here.
Danielle Larson.
Here.
Ted Parker.
Here.
Bill Pepitone.
Say it again, Bill.
He's here.
Participating via phone.
Todd Sanford.
Here.
Debbie Smith.
Here.
Anna Zuckerman.
Here.
Sean Kilkenny.
Present via proxy,
And your name, please?
Natasha Taylor Smith.
Robert Seward.
We have special presentations of which we have none, and then we'll move to the hearing of the public, starting with Josh Gradwell.
First, I want to thank the mayor for taking on part of the Delaware Canal for our annual cleanup on April 2nd. My wife and I are canal tenders in Morrisville year-round, from Bridge Street to the railroad impasse south, and it's nice to see that other people are helping us do something we do year-round, even if it's only 1 day a year. It's certainly a big help. And if word can get out that we need help, we're going to be meeting at the fireworks building and progressing from there south. And there's a big problem at the canal laundry site that is a year-round problem. But thank you again, Mayor. I am 27-year employee with the New Jersey DEP. Live here in Morrisville. And about a year and a half ago, my wife and I were asked to attend a meeting to fight the big Elcon facility. It was going to be an incinerator, it was going to be an abysmal environmental hazard. Being an environmentalist, I took a concern, got involved, but soon learned that the majority of things that were being said about the facility were not true. It's a wastewater treatment facility. And I see that you guys have a resolution that you want to adopt today opposing the adoption of the plan. And I would like to ask you all, what exactly are your concerns with the facility? Having been an employee with the New Jersey DEP, I have overseen the cleanup of hundreds of sites, some of them the cleanups extending over $100 million. We have a program in New Jersey where we can recommend facilities for environmental awards that are doing the right things, reduce their pollution. It could even be a school where they've implemented a series of environmental programs to reduce their litter and waste, recycling aluminum, plastic, paper, etc. So it's been recognized, at least in New Jersey for years, that the environment and industry can work together. It's not always a negative. And after I read the Elcon application twice, I realized that most of what's being said is not true, and that this is really something we could use in this area. And it's not going to be this major Hollywood disaster movie that everybody's presenting it to be. So again, what I would like to ask the council, what are your concerns that you think this facility would pose to us in Morrisville and or the people in Falls Township? And I'll try to answer your questions from an engineering perspective, the environmental regulation perspective, because I understand what RECRA is about. And I think, unfortunately, some of the environmental groups have been propagating a lot of lies about the facility, and nobody is willing to say, well, what exactly is RECRA? What exactly are the regulations that they would be enforced under? How does the permitting process work? And I wanted to step forward and say, I'm willing to answer questions as a neutral party. I'm not an employee of Elcon. I work across the river in New Jersey DEP, but I understand environmental regulations. And I think this is a good thing. If it was bad, I would be fighting this with science and engineering and the regulations that PADEP has to enforce to approve or deny this. So, do you have any questions that maybe a neutral party like myself can answer for you that you don't understand about the permitting process, you don't understand about the facility itself, and I'll give my best shot at trying to answer your questions.
Just to clarify, Mr. Bradwell, you said you're not speaking on behalf of Elcon, correct?
Correct, no.
Okay, you said that you do have some information on them?
I have read the application.
So you do know, or maybe this is just an untruth that I heard, but you say about how New Jersey, the DEP, and how they give awards for environmental things like that. It's my understanding that they tried to open in New Jersey first, and New Jersey DEP said no.
I read that the first time today. I'm not aware of it. I'm more than willing to go back to my colleagues at the New Jersey DEP and verify.
Well, I would certainly like to hear their response.
Okay, I have no problem doing that. I will get back to you.
Because it's my understanding that everyone on the New Jersey side definitely has a problem with it and doesn't want that there. So I just am curious as to why an employee of the New Jersey DEP would say that it's okay to have it on this side of the Delaware River, but not on that side.
Okay, I don't work in the RECRA program. I have worked with them in the past because the sites that I had ongoing cleanup had RECRA permits. So I had to work with them.
Can you say?
RECRA, RCRA, it's the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act.
Okay.
It's a federal law that state environmental agencies have been authorized by the U.S. EPA to enforce in their states. PA's been authorized to implement it here. New Jersey's been authorized to implement it over in New Jersey.
Got it.
They could bow out at any time and say, we don't want to handle this anymore, give it back to the U.S. EPA. But it's a federal law that governs the recovery of hazardous materials, the proper storage, treatment, and disposal of those hazardous materials. The term is from cradle to grave. And again, as a regulator, I've dealt with RECRA permitted facilities that are going through what's called closure, where they have to implement a plan that they put together when they got their permit to ensure that if there was any contamination associated with their RECRA units, how they were going to clean it up. And they have to post what's called financial assurance to ensure the cleanup could be done.
Well, it's my understanding that the New Jersey DEP didn't even allow them to get that far. They took one look at it and said, no, thank you.
Again, this is the first I've heard of this. I didn't
Okay.
speak to anybody in my record department. I've only spoken to
That was the
geologists.
only question that I had, so
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And I think our resolution pretty clearly states how we feel about it.
Okay, and I'm not here to argue, I think at the last meeting that you guys had here, my understanding was that the mayor invited the reps from Elcon to come here so you could ask them questions. And in his absence, either none of you knew about that, or you chose to ignore it because they were never asked to come forward to speak about their facility. And I was here to help them as a resident of Morrisville, in case you said, well, you guys don't live here. Why should we approve or deny based on what you're telling us? And I was going to step up and say, I do live here. And I have 27 years experience at the New Jersey DEP. And again, if I thought this was a bad thing, I would say no. And I would figure out engineering-wise why it's not any good, from the scientific reasons why it's no good, or from the own regulations that PADP has to enforce. I would figure out how to say, don't do this. They can't meet this requirement. They can't meet that requirement. And I don't see that as being a concern.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you have no other questions, I'll...
I have one. When I went to the meeting the last time at Sheraton, some people were asking questions. One of them happened to be someone that worked with environmental. And she posed a question to Alcon as to the different hazardous waste that's going to be processed in their plant. And I guess in Israel, the regulations are not as strict on some of those chemicals as the United States. And in their application this time, it does say that they want to have some of those chemicals declassified. And they couldn't answer why that would be declassified here in the States.
I think you're misunderstanding what... I wasn't there for all the questions, but under RCRA, when something, a hazardous material, can no longer be used for its intended purpose, it's considered a hazardous waste. Then RCRA kicks in, and that waste has to be treated from cradle to grave. So let's say I manufacture something that uses benzene in it. At the end of the day, I wash down my process equipment. That water is now considered a hazardous waste because the benzene that I was using to manufacture, say, my paint, is not going to be used in the paint process anymore. The water is now classified a hazardous waste, whether it has 0.1% benzene in it or it's 100% benzene. So, getting to your question, what Elcon is going to do is they will get in wastewater that is contaminated with various contaminants, and they're going to separate the contaminants out from the water. The water will be distilled water, which is nothing but water. There's nothing else in it. The water we get from the Morrisville treatment facility has been treated, but it's not just water. There are going to be dissolved solids in it, and plus they have to chlorinate it to kill bacteria. So because it's a waste, Elcon separates out, I use benzene, but that wasn't a great thing because that's going to be destroyed in the process. Let's say there's some sort of metal in it or a salt. When they separate out the salt, it's still considered a hazardous waste. If my neighbor can use that salt in his process, RCRA, Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, encourages me to approach the DEP and say, I have generated a salt that my neighbor can use in his process. Instead of disposing of this in some place that now has to be monitored forever, I can sell it or give it to my neighbor so they can use it in their process, and therefore they don't have to buy raw materials. They can get it from me at a discount. So it benefits the environment because Elcon can go to the PADEP and say, yes, right now it's classified as hazardous because of the RCRA law. However, I have generated a product that this company can use. And they will have to be able to document that if PADEP says, okay, we will allow that to happen, if they generate 100 tons of that material, they have to document 100 tons went to this company, or 50 went to this company and 50 went to another company. They can't magically make 75% of it disappear. If they can't sell all of it, the rest of it has to go to a hazardous waste disposal facility. So that's why they're saying they want to declassify it. Because in the rec borough, as soon as it comes in contact with that hazardous material, it becomes a regulated waste, and it has to be managed until it's destroyed.
Also, when you're talking about what they could, evidently you're saying reuse, somebody can use a hazardous waste product, is what you're saying, for whatever that purpose would be. Whatever isn't would then have to go someplace. It was specifically asked about where they would be putting that, because it would have to go to landfill. They hadn't even picked a destination for that.
Well, keep in mind that their permitting process, they're like 18 months away from potentially getting a permit. Right now, they have to prove to the PADEP in their Part 2 application, can their technology do what they say it can do? So they're going to have to submit their engineering specs and all that to show, like the water treatment plant here, the first couple of steps are they're going to be adding chemicals to the water to get any metals to drop out. They're going to do other processes to it to get salts and other things to drop out. They're going to have to prove to PADEP that their technology can do that. I got a little sidetracked with your oh,
Where are they going to deposit that?
yeah, where are they going to send the material? They are going to have to determine what hazardous materials they will generate based on the type of industries in this area. They're going to have to find a facility that can accept the waste if PADEP won't declassify. There are record permitted treatment, storage, and disposal facilities. They're basically going to be a treatment facility. Storage facilities will store a hazardous material indefinitely until it can either be treated further, become non-hazardous, or moved to a disposal facility, where then it has to be monitored by that facility forever. And then part of Elcon's permit, it makes them also a responsible party for the facility that they send their waste to. So a lot of what I do now is I track down responsible parties that are responsible for contamination in New Jersey. A lot of times I'm looking at records from the 1940s and 1950s, and it's like, boom, I got it. I found out the generator of this waste, and then I've got to track down the corporate history to figure out who owns that corporation now.
It took you 50 years to do that. Right?
Well, I'm just giving you an example that there are records that go way back. So if Elcon sends a hazardous waste to a disposal facility,
Right.
their name is going to be on that list. And if that disposal facility becomes a problem, and either the PAD, if it's in Pennsylvania, PADEP, or the US EPA starts looking at who manifested materials to the facility, they're going to see Elcon's name, and Elcon's going to be on what's called a potential responsible party list and say, you sent waste salt here. This site is now contaminated. You have to help contribute to pay for the cleanup. So that's going to be part of Elcon's permit. They're going to have to post a bond to ensure that from cradle to grave, anything they generate that is considered a hazardous waste that leaves their facility can be cleaned up if there's a discharge somewhere else.
And just one last question, because I
Okay.
had it done when I was there. Okay, we got this perfect company, let's say, hypothetically. They never going to have a spill. They've got it contained inside. They promise forever and ever it's not going to damage anything in this highly condensed, populated area. But it's got to get here. It's got to get here. So whether it's coming through here in Morrisville, or they told me they weren't going to come down Pennsylvania, they're still going to have other routes. And I stood there while other people in the town said, not my town. So they're still going to have to do traffic studies to make sure what town's going to let them travel that through. Because from what I was explained, from the destination where that can come from, which is a 100-mile radius, they said, from their plant. That's a lot of footage. They've got to come from there to get tested before they leave that plant and then come here. So now they're traveling with this stuff to come here. Let's say hypothetically they get here and it's not what it says over here when they first let them leave.
Right.
Then what? They turn it away. They're going to travel back that product back to wherever. You still have to depend on the companies that are bringing that here also. That also. They could be perfect. You got the human error though. You're still traveling in a highly condensed area. And I think that's one of the biggest things that the residents here have. It's close to the water. I don't care what they say. And it's a highly condensed area of living. And that's where it is with people. And I totally understand how they feel about that.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I can counter that with the, we can't live in a bubble. You could be the person that causes the accident, that the first truck on the Elcon gets in.
Okay.
So I could turn and say, Debbie, I don't want you driving your car anymore, because I know for a fact you're the one that's gonna cause the accident.
Mhm.
And you would look at me and say, how can you know that? We don't know if the trucks will get in an accident.
Right.
Do you have access to Google Earth? Type in 200 Dean Sievers Road. It's the property right next to Elcon. It's called Unibar. The last Google Earth shot, there are 13 rail cars parked at the facility, and there are 15 tractor trailers, tanker trucks. There are about 15 above-ground storage tanks outside. There are already hazardous materials going in and out of that property every day. You guys just don't know. There's an EPA website called EnviroFacts. You can go in there, plug in your address, and it will give you all the facilities within a certain radius of your address that are already under some sort of environmental permit. The Unimar facility they have a listing of their monthly output of air contaminants coming out of the facility. There are already dozens of facilities, hundreds, in our immediate area that are transporting that waste. If the waste isn't going to Elcon, it's already going across our roads because we don't have a treatment facility near here. So the facilities down there, if I'm pointing in the right direction, are already generating waste that they're either putting on train cars or tractor trailers, and they're sending it out on our roads. But nobody has told them, we don't want you coming down Pennsylvania coming out of that place. But everybody is jumping all over Elcon saying, you can't go in on Pennsylvania Avenue. So they said, okay, we'll come in the back way through Tyburn Road, but we're not going to be passing residential. You've already got thousands of gallons of hazardous materials going down there, being manufactured into products that we use or other industries use. Just most of the people here don't know that. They're all under the impression that Elcon's the only facility down there that uses any hazardous materials, but that's far from the truth.
Agreed.
And then, just delivery of gasoline to the gas station right over here, that's the Dunkin' Donuts getting. That's 100% hazardous. I have had to respond to gas stations in New Jersey where they have been overfilled by 300 gallons. The police department driving down the street sees a stream, they think it's water. 2 minutes later, they get the call that it's gasoline going into the storm sewers. And it's like, holy crap. We get sent up there because I was in the US enforcement program for a while to try and figure out, how did this tank get overfilled? Accidents happen, you can't prevent it. But that's 100% hazardous. Remember, the stuff that Elcon's going to get is 80 to 90% water, 20 to 10% hazardous. Because of that RECRA generation rule, once it's been in contact with something, cradle to grave, it becomes hazardous. So even if it's only 5% hazardous, and it's 9,000 gallons of water, and only 5% is hazardous, they have to call that whole truckload hazardous. So it's going to be far less hazardous than that shipment of gasoline that they're going to get the next time the Dunkin' Donuts needs to deliver it.
Thank you, Josh.
Sure thing.
Next we have, sorry, Ron.
Yeah, I'd just like to address one quick thing that Josh mentioned. About the canal part, that was accurate. I am leading the canal cleanup for Morrisville. I did not invite Elcon to come speak last month. I did, for full disclosure, I did put a call into the gentleman named Greg that I met here when he spoke the first time about Elcon. We have a resident that's in the back of the room. Debbie Colgan came to public comment and said their trucks are going to come through Morrisville. Well, you guys know me, I don't listen to the internet. I called them, I asked if that was true. Somehow that got turned around, so I invited them, but I did ask if that was true. I was told that because they are a private entity, they dictate the route. So that was the response I got, so I just wanted to share that information with everyone.
Thank you. Next we have Kurt Holtenreich.
Good evening, Kurt Holtenreich, 300 Melvin Avenue North. Corinne, you're absolutely correct about New Jersey DEP stopping Elcon over there. That's where they're headquartered. There are other plants going to be in the middle of the desert, not near major waterway where 5 to 8 million people or so get their water. love those terms, salt, thermal oxidizer. Fire is just that, oxidation. They are burning, they're using heat. That's how they're gonna reduce things down to these salts. Love that, salts. Why can't they say what it's going to be? It's just salt. It's salt. I appreciate what he did come up and talk about, but it does raise a lot of questions. He didn't know that they were in New Jersey and applied. He says he's not part of that program, but yet he's speaking like it's no problem in false. One quick thing about the payments here. I did notice that it said repair light bridge in Pennsylvania was smashed, I think, back in December was repaired. But there's a few repairs here, $2,600. Was that all from that one repair? It cost us almost $3,000 to repair one light?
Page are you on, Kurt? What page are you on?
I'm sorry, page 3, line items,
You just
02.
say, it's kind of confusing at the top, see where it says GL,
I'm sorry, GL 1602.
page 3?
Page 3, GL 1602, line item down here, street lighting, the bottom. It has lighting repairs, 1,400. There's the electric, I guess maybe a light bulb or something, and repair street light, and then street lighting from Stout Electric. Is that all from that one repair? It was $2,600 to repair one light head? Or is that multiple repairs? And that's a lot of money, and there's 3 different companies on there for electrical contractor, South Lighting, and EC Gears.
I believe the lighting repair one by Pierce is not. However, the Griffith Lighting Supply and the MR Electrical and the Strauss Lighting, yes, that was all from one light.
Okay, I was going to getting smashed, so they're $1,300.
Actually, I don't know if it was smashed.
It was, I saw it in
Somebody-
December, it was
Oh, you saw it
glass everywhere on the
smashed?
sidewalk, yeah.
Oh,
I drove past someone from work, and it was just glass all over the sidewalk.
Okay, we thought somebody stole it.
No, they got smashed, right in front of the, okay, so there's 2 different repairs on it, okay, all right, let's make sure it wasn't gonna be, it was $3,000 to replace these lights every time, if we weren't told that was how it was gonna be. All right, next thing, Elcon came to the agenda meeting, they said they were told to come here by our Mayor David Ravel. I would love to know where his position is on Elcon, what he thinks about it, if it's good for us or not. You said how it's going to be great for our community over there. I can't get his name, but no one can tell us how it's going to be good for our economy or our region. 30 jobs, they're not going to hire 200 shift workers. It's not going to be good for our community. You can't tell me it's going to be good for our community. How can it be good?
No. Don't discuss with.
Okay, I mean, I don't know how it can be good for us. It was shot down in one area, they're putting another one in the middle of the desert in Colorado, and the ones in Israel are in the middle of the desert. You can't tell me this is good. I understand we have waste, it needs to be treated. And we live in a society where we have to take care of what we make, I get that. But to use his argument that we already have a bunch of crap going in down there, and don't think we all don't know what's going in down there. We know there's chemicals being trucked all over our roads. But why add more to that congestion? The more you put into a place, the more hazards you get, more risks are associated with more trucks, more everything. It gets more dangerous. And, you know, I said, I don't know what Dave's never, Mr. Ravel never said once, but his position is on Elcon publicly. I love he says he doesn't listen to the internet, but yet he monitors every page known to man. Even that other one that just showed up at Bash's residence. So I find that interesting. Thank you very much.
Kurt. Next we have Mike Yeager.
Hi everybody, Mike Yeager, 338 Melbourne Avenue North. Just want to make a couple of announcements and a comment. I want to remind everybody that this Saturday, March 26th at 11 a.m. is the Morrisville Borough Area Rotary Club's Easter egg hunt at Williamson Park. That's on tonight's agenda for final approval, but we did speak about that previously. And I want to make another announcement for another event that they have going on. Morrisville Rotary Club will be hosting a a celebration of the 30th anniversary of Hands Across America. That's going to be on May 21st, 2016. Keep your eyes out for flyers and more information on that. With that, I just want to make a quick LCON comment. It'll be very quick. So I've been to several meetings at this point. I followed very closely. And I keep hearing this narrative about salt. And at one point, the good doctor, who's a very nice guy, the gentleman, I can't think of his name offhand, but there it is. He had mentioned that they were going to get it declassified and it would be great to just use as road salt. Fair enough. My problem with that narrative is they claim they have no interest or no anticipation of dumping anything into the Delaware. If you use it as road salt, where is it going to end up? It's going right in the Delaware. The minute it rains, all of that waste is going right into the Delaware. So just keep that in mind when we're hearing this narrative about declassifying the salt. In order for them to have that narrative, they must truly believe, whether it's true or not, I'm not saying, I don't know, but they must truly believe that it is a substance that is benign, right? I can't imagine it is. You can't get 100% of whatever you're trying to get out of this water out of it. There's going to be some remnants of the substance they're trying to remove. So keep in mind when they're talking about salt, declassifying it and selling it for road salt, because that was something he specifically said at one of the meetings, it's going to go back into the river anyway, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next we have Clay Aberts. Correct pronunciation there?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Clay Eberts, 512 Osborne Avenue, Morrisville. First, I want to say I am in support of this motion against LCON. Basic reason, let's set aside the technology, let's set aside all the arguments. One basic fact, they're too close to the river. They're bringing in more toxins and waste from outside the area. If you want to know, the Lower Makefield Township meeting, they declared 30% of their truck traffic and product will be coming from this area. That leaves 70% coming from an outside source. That's 7% that's going to cause more traffic, more risk of accidents, more risk of spills. And let's face it, this town, we have kids and grandkids, and that's what everybody is concerned about, the drinking water, the air quality, the quality of life of our children and the future generations. If we already have to deal with the incinerator, the waste from the dump, 70% air pollution in this area alone. We are third worst in air quality already. There's a high cancer rate in Bucks County right now versus other areas in the state. We have traffic coming from Canada all the way to Puerto Rico along the East Coast dumping their trash here. My point is we've taken on more than our fair share in this area. And the quality of life is going down because of it. We cannot afford to have any more brought in this area. LCON themselves have admitted, their spokespersons, there will be spills. They are going to add to our truck traffic. They are going to be trying to downgrade the level of toxins that they're treating. They are still toxins. They are listed as waste, hazardous waste by the United States government for a reason. And whether we downgrade them or not, the point is, we can't afford to take the chance of having LCON in this area and bringing more pollution and potentially damaging our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Next we have Holly Harmon.
Hi, Holly Harmon, South Pennsylvania Avenue. Having moved to the first ward about a year ago, truck traffic alone is out of hand. To add to that is just going to be putting salt into the wound. There's times that if I don't back into my driveway the night before, there's no chance in hell I'm ever getting out in the morning. So I am asking you also to complete the resolution against LCON, plan for the KIPC. Like I said, Morrisville's been dumped on repeatedly when it comes to air pollution, and this plant will only add to the problem. And also, again, just repeating what they said, the proximity to the Delaware River, which serves up to 8 million people with drinking water. It's just a risk we can't take.
Thank you, Holly. Next we have Bill Setzer.
I'm Bill Setzer. I'm the chairperson of the Morrisville EAC, the Environmental Advisory Council. and I live at 806 Crown Street. I didn't actually expect this much furor, shall we say, over the Elcon situation. Just so the public knows, those that are here and those who are watching on TV and viewing it on video later on our website, on the borough website, Morrisville actually isn't in a position to stop this, even with a resolution. We can simply blend our municipal voice if we do oppose it with the other communities that are equally concerned. And there are many of them in this area, even across the river from the proposed site. And so the point of all this is, do you favor it or you don't favor it? This isn't how detailed arguments we can make, science versus science, okay? I am going to, since there is so much interest, I actually am going to read to the council and the public a very similar comment to what we had read to you back in September of 2015, last year, after we had visited several of the PADEP hearings at the Sheraton on the siting of this proposed site. And our opinion then and our opinion now certainly is that we should voice a municipal opinion that we oppose the siting of it in this area. It's not good for the region in so many ways. I hope you'll be, because I have two comments, I have another important comment after that. They're pretty brief. I hope you'll be as generous with me as you were with Mr. Gradwall. I normally wouldn't read you two comments at one shot. The opinion is presented to you on behalf of the MEAC in response to continued discussions of our monthly meetings. It's the same opinion which we publicly addressed to you at your meeting of September 15, 2015. Although the proposed Elcon site is south of our borough, it is likely that daily truck and rail traffic hauling liquid hazardous waste will pass close to and perhaps directly through our borough in the process of delivery to Elcon. It is the nature of accidents that they happen unexpectedly, and they do happen. With a spill of hazardous liquid waste, our emergency responders will be placed at an increased health risk than they are now, and residents may also be affected. By locating this Elcon facility in proximity to the shoreline of the Delaware River, which is both townships' decision and fault, the consequence of any accidental leakage or spillage of incoming waste or outgoing byproducts might contaminate the source of drinking water for millions of people and the businesses who rely upon the Delaware River as its primary source of H2O. Locating the facility near the river is too great a risk when we consider the potential for disaster that might affect our neighbors, our region's most valuable natural resource, which is the Delaware River. The Morrisville EAC believes that Elcon should locate their proposed facility at a site many miles away from any floodways, floodplains, or waterways. Perhaps a desert is the best place. The MEAC urges the Morrisville Borough Council to use its voice in support of other local communities who oppose the facility at this site along the river. A resolution to draft and submit a letter to the PADEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, should occur immediately so that this international company, Elcon, and the PADEP will both more clearly realize that there is widespread community and municipal disfavor of permitting a hazardous waste facility at a riverfront site. And that's our opinion.
Is that approved by the EAC as a whole?
Yeah, we unanimously
Can we
agree on
include that in our
this.
minutes tonight?
Yes, sir. You mean you'd like a copy?
Yeah, I'd just like to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We would like you to do that. We'd like you to include all our comments as official minutes.
I read it.
But thanks for asking for my permission, and you have it. So with that said, we do ask you to do the... Hold on one second.
Such fervor.
Yeah,
It's at the end.
No, it's in the middle.
Hello? Okay. We do ask you to vote yes and oppose a resolution voicing your opposition to the siting of that business. I didn't hear. Hello? Seems like we go through this every meeting. I'm wondering what the problem is.
A bit better.
Feels like a deja vu experience.
Can you hear me now?
Try this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zillard.
Keep
I'm gonna
your
put it-
hands off the mic.
Okay, I'm gonna put it back, I'm gonna put it back.
Stand and don't touch it.
Okay. Do not touch the mic. You wanna get it out? I've already started.
Switch. Switch.
Okay, maybe you're supposed to switch.
I could actually say this very loud.
I just worry that the tape won't pick it up.
Tape will pick it up.
Right. Everybody just relax. My next comment's going to be on a totally different topic. And this will give you time to digest everything that's been said so far tonight.
We only have two more.
I think Bob's reloading.
We can see right now.
Hello. Okay. Thanks, everybody here and out there in TV land for waiting. The other comment that the EAC had prepared and unanimously agreed upon is regarding the process of making improvements to public lands here in Morrisville. The MEAC encourages Borough Council to clarify the process for groups who want to initiate improvements on public land. And I underline the word clarify. In matters which regard usage or alterations to the public lands, and that would include heating gardens and other small-scale projects, citizens must engage in the well-established advisory review process to effectively work with the borough. The process includes an advisory group review, which is open and visible to the public, for the purpose of gathering and supplying necessary information and advice to the council. The advisory group review process helps to avoid a hodgepodge of projects with no long-term value. Projects that are fast-tracked by skirting important advisory reviews may prove upon completion to be permanently flawed, remaining as a burden to the borough for many years to come. It is a good thing to have 3 new borough committees to reach out and interact with the borough public. When a good project is discovered and targeted by a committee for serious consideration, the group proposing that project should then be directed towards the appropriate advisory review group, such as the MEAC, for a required review as part of the advisory process for council. The Planning Commission, the MEAC, the Zoning Board, and the Zoning Hearing Board are all established to offer a well-defined mechanism for review of such infrastructure projects. When projects are reviewed by these agencies, important and necessary facts become available to the Borough Council and to the Borough Management, which allows them to make a studied and well-considered decision of approval. The focused, thorough, and patient advisory review of projects on public land results in better analysis and allows more sufficient time for public input. Advisory group reviews determine if a project is realistic and sustainable. And they determine that the project conforms to important established standards, such as the municipal code, the borough comprehensive plan, and the borough open space plan. These were all written to be used as living documents. The MEAC likes progress, and we strive to work with all groups in a spirit of cooperation. We always look forward to supplying the borough and the public both with the best possible advice on matters affecting our public land and environment. If the public will work patiently with the borough via the established advisory group review process, then much change and improvement will occur. That's our opinion.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Next, I have a name I'm not too sure of.
My other comment has already been covered.
Okay.
Thanks.
And then our last name is Eileen Drysdale.
Eileen Dreisbach, 75 Harrison Avenue, which is right off of South Pennsylvania Avenue, which is on where I live. And I have a very difficult time now also getting out of my street. I have to make a left onto South Pennsylvania Avenue to come down. And it's been more and more horrendous each day. And I was